what we believe in. And this is why I'm breaking this down, because I know we can talk about indigenous this and indigenous that, but the reality is we cannot go into 2024 with the mindset of this is my escape. We're not here to escape anything. We're here to just participate in society with our dignity as a people who govern themselves, as a people who have allies, because again, the other system is not we're here to exist. We're here to be a part of society, and be able to show up. I like to put it this way. Our nation, for the most part, we're made up of just everyday people, regular people. Basically, you know, what is a government? We've all become so paranoid, and I'm not saying, now guess what? I'm not saying that we don't have the right to feel some type of way about certain things. You know, those things have happened. So I get it. But you have to understand what a government is. So the Xi-Amaru Republic, because we are an indigenous government, well, what is a government, right? I think that's where we should start. So a government is the governing body of a nation, state, or community. That's one of the major things that we hear. But I think the right question to ask is, why are governments created to begin with? Governments are created to provide the safety of law and order, protecting citizens from each other and from outside enemies. In other words, governments are created to protect who created it. And I'm gonna just let you think about that. The reason that is so important is because now a little of that resentment that some of y'all may have in regards to governments is understanding that for a lot of us, we have been playing house in we've been trying to get other people to respect us in their houses. And it's like, it's cute, but it's like you go into your landlord, and I know other people have heard me say this, but it's like literally you're renting a house, or not even a house, you're renting a room in a house, and you're telling the landlord, hey, you know, it's the holiday seasons. I think that the kitchen might look good green. That's how we sound when we're talking about respect my rights. You know, it sounds, you know, and the landlord may consider that. The landlord may say, you know what, I think, you know, the kitchen might look good green, but do they have to actually paint the kitchen green? No, they don't. So that's kind of how people confuse governments as land. Governments are not land, people. Governments are legal entities, as you already know, that operates to govern people. So understanding that, now you can put it in perspective when it comes to how you've been handling your life. I like to say we've pretty much been orphans. Like we just been getting adopted into other systems and not understanding that we have the right to do our own thing. This isn't a get back. This is what all people have done. This is what people do. You know, at some point, you know, put it this way, the most popular system that we all know right now, that wasn't created by aliens. Literally, there's a reason people celebrate on July 4th. Okay? It was literally, now again, we're not going to get into a lot of why this and how this happened. I'm not here for that. But basically, it was a group of people who came together and said, I don't want to deal with those other people anymore in that area. They said that when they were in other people's land, okay? Now, you gotta kind of think, you're indigenous. If you're indigenous, you in your land, and you scared to self-govern yourself, then you gotta kind of ask yourself what's going on, because now you have to really think. Because now, what we hear a lot of people ask, are you federally recognized? So you telling me we gotta ask the people from another place, ask their children if we can exercise our indigenous rights to self-govern ourselves? Who did they ask? Okay, exactly. So we have to unlearn a lot of that. I think, the reality is most people are shell-shocked. We've been in living life a certain way. So when we hear these concepts, it creates this, it sounds too good to be true. You have to realize that you are as powerful as anybody else. You understand? People is what runs the world. People create systems. Like, what makes us a real nation is our people. Me. The people who already are part of our nation. We bring the Xi-Amaru Republic to life. Every system is brought to life by its people. That's what makes it legitimate, not getting an approval from another group of people. That's not what makes nations. Now, again, of course, the important thing about understanding nation building comes down to relationships, being able to participate in society and have people respect you as a group. That's a different conversation. But when we talk about recognition, we recognize ourselves. Like, this is understanding your rights. That's why it's so important. Like, don't get caught up in all of that information. If you don't understand the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, then there's no need for you to read no law book. There's no need for you to read anything else because you still don't get it. So really do some soul searching and understand that you are in a place of power, but no one's going to give it to you. Every group of people understands that life is built on me. And once you come to that understanding, then we might be a good fit for you. Okay? We might be. But the reason to understand this is you have to understand that where we're at, to be honest, is not fun. This ain't the fun part. What you see other nations being able to benefit off of and enjoy is the work of their founding fathers. We just founded this last year. So you standing on my back, you standing on the back of other people who decide to come into our nation, this might not be a good fit for you because you don't really want to work. And when I say work, I mean come into an understanding that if I want life around me to be different for me and my future generations, I'm going to have to be the one to take the bullet. Now, not literally, because it's not that complicated anymore. Okay, we have the declaration backing us, so we ain't gotta go out there and do nothing. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm literally, you have to come into an understanding that you might be better on the other side. The other side they've done a lot, and although it may not be your own system, you're still able to profit. And the reality is, even being a part of our nation doesn't release us from the opportunities and the privileges of the things that are also a part of that system. And I'll go into that. But it's important to understand that what you are looking for, some of you, doesn't exist. And I know that may hurt some people's feelings because everyone out here is trying to sell you a dream. Everyone out here is just literally using your desperation. They're using your lack of knowledge. They're using your fear to literally steal from you. And the people who are stealing from you, most of them look like you. And the reason why that is because you have believed that your enemy is only on the outside. There's a lot of enemies. You understand? And the reason why we are operating as a government. So is this nation recognized by the government? That's a great question. So is this nation recognized? Yes. Nations, so governments understand that people have the right to be Now, there's things that people have to put in place to exercise those rights to self-governance, which is one, declare certain things, put certain things in place. But how will someone recognize you if you don't start? Like, how would someone know you exist if you never was created? And a lot of times we don't hear ourselves when we say certain things. Like, because kind of what you're saying is, do you have permission to do what you do? And the reality is we all do. Like, indigenous people on their land, if you're indigenous, have the right to self-determination. You have the right to carry out and evolve and develop your system. When it comes to our specific group of people, indigenous people, we went through what most people never experienced, which is complete wipeout of our history. Now, what we have been taught is that now we have to go back and scrape up all the little pieces of history that was robbed from us, and then hope to take that back to somebody and say, guess what? Can you guys now recognize me as an indigenous person because of X, Y, and Z? Now, again, you understand that your whole history was taken from you, but you're trying now to get permission from another group of people who literally took that history and confused you, and now you're telling us that that's the way you want to self-govern yourself. It doesn't work that way. You have to understand that, specifically when it comes to our case, I can only speak from my experience. I'm not here to speak about any other indigenous people, okay?